What is going on, guys? Bingo here. I'm with the Duel Factory for episode 30, take 3 of X2 Drop, our weekly Yu-Gi-Oh podcast we do, where apparently we have technical issues and we're recording at 1 in the morning. So this week we had 3 Yu-Gi-Oh YCSs, and we got to see really where the format developed after the Megaton promos came out, right? So I'm going to preface this with the idea of, do we need a ban list, and if so, what do we need to address on it? We're not going to talk about cards we want to see come back, because we can do that for about 2 hours and still not be done. So given the current format, Joe, you've been following it a little bit closer than I have since I got a move coming up. What do you think of the current format for the third time?
For the third time, because I love doing this so much. The format, it's interesting how it's kind of shifted. So we've had roughly a couple weeks now with the new promos in it being Nibiru, Dark Ruler No More, and Dimension Shifter. And Nibiru is clearly the standalone card. It's most generic that you see it and everything like that. And because of the fear of that card and how good it is, you've seen a lot of the meta shift. You're not seeing as many combo Thunder decks. You're not seeing as many regular Thunder decks, honestly. And this is coming from a dedicated Thunder player. Sky Striker representations on the low, although very good players, I can't believe I'm about to say this, like Dominic Couch, are still having success with the deck. That being said, a lot of the decks that you're seeing, especially when it comes to the Orcus deck, you're not seeing pure Orcus decks as much, because the only real way they have to play around Nibiru is cards like not Ib, but Ibli, the Nightmare, whatever her name is, the level 2 one. You're not seeing that. You're seeing more variations of the Orcus engine. The most prevalent one, because it's been in the finals of the last 3 YCSs that we've seen, is the Lunalight Orcus deck and the Cyber Dragon Orcus deck, because they play the best around Ibli. Lunalight Orcus can make Azathoth on summon 4 and then blank the card and go full combo. And then Cyber Dragon Orcus can either make Nova, and Nova plus the token will generate Orcus combo anyway, or you make Cyber Dragon Infinity and it becomes useless. So variations of the Orcus deck are just very, very, very prominent right now.
Yes, and it's getting to the point, we've talked about this 2 times tonight and over the course of the past few weeks. It's very, very reminiscent of the Zodiac engine before it took its big hit, right? It's just in everything. It was in Infernoid. It was in Paleo. Paleo Zoo won 2 YCSs. Actually, I think one of those wasn't a Zoo variant, but that doesn't matter. It became this just splashable engine. You play 3 Barrage, 3 Rat Pier, and like a Whiptail just to search. And that's about it. It just generates this insane advantage and grind game that a deck that shouldn't be able to facilitate it can, and that's just because the Orcus engine is so generic and easily accessible through the extra deck, through cards like Nightmare Mermaid, right?
Exactly.
And that is where the problem lies. And we'll get into that a lot more later on, but I want to touch on the lesser tier decks of the format, because Orcus will be the best deck of the format until the next ban list, which hopefully will be in about 3 weeks. So you already touched on Sky Striker and Thunder Dragon a little bit, but you're the Thunder Dragon player in our group. What do you think happened? People were looking at the Thunder Dragon deck, the pure version, saying, I can play around Nibiru really well. It's got a great Sky Striker matchup. It can play well against just about everything except Orcus.
As a dedicated Thunder Dragon player, and one not only if ever going to put the deck down, because let's be real, I like that deck so much. The fact that Orcus is now the most represented deck makes it really, really, really hard to be a Thunder Dragon player. Like, it really does. Like, the big selling point of that deck is Colossus is an insane card that can protect itself. It prevents your opponent from playing, so on and so forth. And I mean, you can even use it as level 8 to make big generic boss monsters. The problem with that is Orcus decks, no matter what the variation is, do not care about Colossus. Like, they don't get stopped by it. Like, you put up a Colossus against an Orcus player, they're just gonna laugh at you. And like, it's just really hard. You have to main deck cards like Dimension Shifter for your deck to actually have a chance against that deck, or a better chance than it does right now. Because as it stands, with Orcust versus Thunder Dragon, it's 7-3 in Orcust favor, and it's just tough. Like you don't have the freedom to play the deck as you want it, versus where an Orcust player is just going to do whatever they want because it's Orcust.
Yeah, and it's kind of funny because what Orcust does to Thunder Dragon, where it basically makes the engine not relevant, like it doesn't matter what your deck does because their deck is just going to stop it. It's kind of what Thunder Dragon does to other decks, like more so Rogue, but also Sky Striker, where it just like shuts down the engine to a certain point. With cards like Dingirsu, just being able to send the card, Dingirsu being able to protect the Orcust cards from Titan, and it's just very, very difficult. And you only have a 40% chance to open Dimension Shifter in your first 5 cards, whether you're going first or second, because, yeah, you get 6 cards going second, but if the 6th one's Dimension Shifter, it doesn't fucking matter.
The game's over, cuz.
Yeah, so it just does struggle. Now, when the Orcust engine gets checked, Thunder Dragon will take a hit. And that's because without Orcust in the format, Thunder Dragon is extremely powerful.
It becomes a lot more potent than what it is now, I can promise you that.
And then Sky Striker, I've said this for a while. It's a very, very solid tier 1.5, tier 2 rogue deck. I would honestly classify it as a rogue deck because it's so fragile. If it doesn't have a good pilot, it's not going to do well. It's so easy to misplay. If you misplay your resources, if you summon Kagari at the wrong time, you could just lose the game.
It's tough for a deck like that, especially with because there's not a whole lot more you can do to it, especially now because it kind of reminds you of a Spiral deck where all of its good resource cards and stuff like that are all just one-ofs, and that's really tough. And without multi-roll, it doesn't have the power and the grindability like it used to have. So that makes it really, really tough.
Yeah,
especially against.
Oh, go ahead.
Just against decks against Orcust and stuff like that. That's going to continue to play every single turn. Eventually, even if you have multi-roll set up, eventually you're just going to run out of cards, and that's where Orcust is just going to take over the game.
Yeah, you play from the field, and Orcust plays from the grave, and every time they're going to be forcing your hand and just making you respond and wasting your resources, and they're going to eventually whittle you down, and they're going to be able to recycle their engine pieces with Galatea, Longirsu, whatever. They're going to get their banished cards back, and they're going to be able to play, and you're not. And on top of that, you got cards like Deck Devastation Virus, right?
Yeah, EEV.
Or Eradicate. Yeah, sorry, EEV. Yeah. And that just sucks because it's everywhere in the side deck, or at least it was last week. I didn't see the results for this past weekend, but that card is just insane against Sky Striker. Oh, man. It's a hard time being a Sky Striker player. And then we got Salamangreat, which I guess we still technically have to talk about.
I mean, you're still seeing Salamangreat players do well, but the deck's just evolved into... We have to resolve Mirage Stalio because all of our good power cards are at 1, and that's just tough.
Yeah, you hard lose to Nibiru more than any of the other decks we've talked about, and it's kind of like Sky Striker where the pilot matters, but their line of play is a lot more linear, and I don't know. It's a deck. You can do well with it, but I don't think anything needs to happen to it.
No, it can be it's one of those decks that where a lot of good Yu-Gi-Oh decks and stuff like that all suffer from is just that it will be phased out over time.
Yeah, and not that it's like any good Yu-Gi-Oh deck in the past, right? It's like if all of its cards were at 3, it'd be fine, but it's just going to be phased out. It's still going to be playable as if they don't touch anything, but it's just going to be phased out by cards at full power or decks at full power.
Yeah, it's just going to get tougher and tougher and tougher as the formats go.
So with that being said, we've established what's in the format, with the exception of Pendulum Magician, which is extremely good. But again, that's a deck that going first is pretty linear, but being able to navigate going second is a lot more difficult. So you need a good pilot, and you need to play the deck pretty religiously to do well with it, in my opinion. But whatever, that doesn't matter. I'm just some guy.
Some guy with a Sky Striker dream.
All right, so that's the format. With the results from the past 2 weeks, what do we need to do? Do we need a soft reset? Do we need a hard reset? Do we need a slap on the wrist, or do we even need a ban list?
So
the answer is yes to that. Sorry,
you 100% need a list. Like, there's no getting around that. Now, as for how hard you have to do things, the elephant in the room is Orcust. All right, let's be real.
Yeah, let's fucking take it out back, beat it with a bat, and never talk about it again.
I myself am personally sick and tired of seeing Orcust being a dedicated Thunder player. As a general, I think the community is tired of seeing it regardless, because it's really, really hard to deal with an Orcust deck, especially when you have so many supplementary engines that make it really hard for your side deck cards to even resolve against it. Because now we're finding ways to incorporate Azathoth and like so on and so forth. To future-proof the game, and whether this is a victim of the Orcust deck or not is irrelevant at this point. But I think Mermaid has to go. It has to. It makes it to where every single deck that can make a Mermaid now has access to arguably the most broken engine in the game. And,
yeah,
I'm okay with that going. Like,
it's just not exciting, right? It's peaked. The deck's been out for a long time. Yes, you can still innovate, because like Cyber Dragon Orcust was like mind blown when it like topped the event. It's like, oh, why is this working? But that's when the engine needs to be checked, because when you can just shove it in anything, like fucking I'm playing Dark Magician Orcust because I can, and it's just out of control. Like I'm so sick of seeing it. The deck is extremely good at breaking boards. Going second, going first, it's just going to set up its engine to do a follow-up play, because you're not going to kill them. They're going to stop you from killing them, and then they're going to kill you. With cards like Vershuda, Mind Control, being able to play Nibiru and actually get value out of it because it's a free monster on board if you resolve it. I'm just so sick. I'm more sick of seeing Orcust decks than I am of seeing Sky Striker decks with 3 Ray and 3 Engage. No fucking shit, you're playing 3 Ray, 3 Engage. Like, what else would you play?
It felt like you took that more personally than you should have.
It's just like, I like watching Sky Striker deck profiles, because there are some good changes, there are some good ideologies, and it's just, given the format change, I want to know what happened. Just like when you were watching Dom's Sky Striker deck profile, you actually said, I like some of his theory in here. He was playing 1 kind of 2 Hayate and a couple of other things, and you're like, the thought process he put in the deck was interesting. But for Orcust, it's like, okay, yes, you're playing cards like Gizmek Orochi, you're playing Vershuda, but it's just a means to an end to deal with 1 card before you make your Orcust combo. It's just, to me, it's not interesting, and the deck just needs to go. But I'm sick of seeing it. That's all.
I feel you on that one.
So you said ban Mermaid, right? Would you do anything else?
Okay, so you take away Mermaid, so now the deck, you can't just splash an Orcust engine like everything, but like, you still have the ability to play all these cards that get you to the end goal, which was Harp anyway, right?
Yes.
So, like, me personally, I think I would love to see Harp just go, because then I'm not seeing Orcust anymore. I'm not seeing any degenerate stuff and anything like that. I'm 100% okay with that. Now, being said, that is slightly harsh and unfair, but I think it kind of warrants it at this point.
Yeah, it has done enough at this point to warrant being dead. Like, take your spot on the bench, sit on the ban list with Zoo, the Dragon Rulers, just like all these other decks that, like, yes, they were great in their time, but like they just need to move over. And leaving Orcus in a playable status isn't going to leave room for decks coming out in Chaos Impact or the next sets to take over the format. It's just such a good engine, such a good deck that unless it dies, it's not going to open up the meta.
100% agree.
But yeah, fuck ban Mermaid, and if you want to leave the deck semi-playable, limit Galatea. If you don't, then fucking ban something else, and the deck sucks. I'm not going to put too much thought into it. Like, yeah, you can ban Dingirshi, you can ban Skeleton, you can ban Galatea. Like, there's a lot of things you can do. But if anyone ever tells you ban Orchestrated Babel, smack him in the head. It's not going to do anything.
I feel attacked.
Sky Striker. We've gone over this a few times. The deck's fine. Like, yes, Konami loves this deck. You can't ignore it. There's rumors for more support. They've reprinted these cards as alties, Prismatic Secrets. Like, they like this deck. So I don't think it's going to die. I would like to see Hornet Drones banned. I mean, I wouldn't like to, but I think they need to, because it's just another one of those cards that with Engage isn't really healthy for the game. It's a free link too. Depending on the game state, you can get a draw off it. It's just, especially in Orcus, but hopefully that won't be a problem.
I mean, it's just one of those cards that was just poorly future-proofed, let's be real.
Yeah, just Engage as a whole. But
other than that, like, Sky Striker's at to the point now where it's only a matter of time before it gets phased out, so...
Yeah, it's just going to get power crept, which is really weird to say, but when all your combo pieces, just like BA, are limited, and you have to... It's more about... if you want to be successful, it's more about technical play than just having a good deck. I think that's where it's perfectly fine for this deck to sit. I could see them, like... do something weird like ban drones and semi-limit anchor just to like kind of nerf it a little bit more, but I don't think they should. But
it's unnecessary at this
point. Thunder Dragon, what do we do to this deck? Because if Orcus is gone, Thunder Dragon it bumps up a ton in power.
Yeah, it becomes definitely more playable than it is now, that's for sure. But
what do we do?
So, like, originally, like, when Pure was, like, the big problem and stuff like that, I was always saying that if you put Dark 1 and Colossus the 1, that does enough. Because, like, you're not going to have the recurability with Dark, and you're not going to have, like... If I'm not saying the consistency goes down, but what it does is the actual, like, its grindability goes down, because you can't just, like, throw a Colossus out there, turn it into a Titan, and then just summon another Colossus. Like, that's not going to happen. You're not going to have multiple resolutions of Titan on your opponent's turn because you only have one Dark, so you can't just go like discard to go get another copy of it, and so on and so forth. So, like, I think you tone it down enough. I mean, it's also kind of unfortunate too, because like it just becomes a victim of the Orcus deck being touched at this point. But to be fair, before Orcus even came out, people wanted stuff to happen to this deck because, let's be real, even though I'm a dedicated Thunder player, it's annoying playing Colossus. Like, it really is. And then you add the other engines. We had the Danger Thunder Guard Dragon, and like you're on Colossus with multiple negates. That's super annoying to go with.
Yeah.
So I think it's appropriate. It's time. I just think it sucks that it's time because it's a victim of another deck being touched.
Yeah, I think regardless of what else they do, Colossus deserves to go to 1. That is. It's such a powerful card, and it's just really this overarching damp on the meta. Like, as anybody trying to play Rogue, it just destroys Rogue. And that's fine for YCS level play, but you know, when you're going to a regional, sometimes you just want to have fun, or you know, as an average player, because not everybody is this hyper competitive, like, I need to fucking win. it's not a fun card to play against, and it's been in the format long enough, so I think it needs to be limited. Does anything else need to happen? Maybe not. I'm not fucking R&D.
You could probably just leave it alone at that point.
Yeah. I don't remember. Did we talk about Guard Dragons in this take or the last one?
We definitely talked about the last one. We haven't talked about this take, but I think it's time.
Yeah. Let's just all agree that fuck the Guard Dragon engine. Something needs to happen to it, and it's just not okay. I can't believe it existed, to be honest.
Argapane or LP need to go. Like, it's time. One gives you access to any dragon in your main deck. The other one gives you access to any form of negation that you want, or any sort of FTK imaginable with super alloy-based Raptinus. Like,
I think it's going to be Argapane because, I mean, LP has a use. I mean, summoning Brotar, summoning Red Med, like those aren't broken things. Yes, Brotar gives you access to Levianeer, which is another fucking card I think we should talk about in a second. But Argapane just being able to shit out a negate from your extra deck is just, it's not fair. It's just like dinos were fucking playing the Guard Dragon engine, right?
Yeah, they were.
Yeah, I totally forgot about that. But it's just to this point where we need to get rid of something. And my personal opinion is ban Argapane and limit Saryuja, because that should have been done a long fucking time ago.
No, yeah. I mean, you shouldn't be able to Saryuja twice in a turn, or sometimes 3 times in a turn, just depending on what you're doing. But banning Argapane is probably the best way to go about it, because it future-proofs the game. It really does. Because you know something else is going to come out that allows you to summon extra deck monsters that let you do something else that's fucking stupid. And, like, we're getting really tired of just having degenerate FTKs available because of cards such as this that just were designed poorly. Like, it was.
Yeah, Argapane being legal is going to limit the card design for dragon-type extra deck monsters. And, like, I can say it's not always the hot red that comes out of there. Like, I don't know how many times I've gotten Guard Dragon comboed into Boral Sword off the Argapane, and it's just like, you shouldn't be able to do that.
You really shouldn't. You shouldn't be able to, like, oh, wait, I didn't go first, but I went second. I'm just going to summon Boral Sword and kill.
Yeah, you shouldn't be able to do that. All right, but leaving LP at 1 gives you access to Brotar, which gives you access to Levianeer, which we've said it multiple times before. Levianeer is insane. Like, right now it's not doing much, but do you think that card needs to be addressed now or later?
It's, I don't know, it's like any other Chaos monster. Like, we thought BLS should never come back more than 1. At one point, we thought BLS banned, not 3. So, like, it's
BLS isn't non-targeting pop 2, Monster Reborn, or rip a card out of your opponent's hand.
Oh, don't get me wrong, I completely agree with that, but it's the same thing. It's just like any other Chaos monster, right? Like, it's only good in Chaos-built decks. So, like, okay, people were like, oh, we can play it in Cyber Dragon. We can play this, and we can play it in that, and so on and so forth. Remember?
Yeah,
like, if you're playing Lights and Darks, you can play this. But, like, at the end of the day, it's, I don't know. It's kind of hard to classify a card like Levianeer.
It's really hard to justify hitting or not hitting that card without knowing the actual ban list, because depending on what cards do take a hit and what cards don't, it will dictate, like, should that card be addressed.
Let me put it this way.
Do I think it's ban worthy currently? I would like to see it banned, but that's just because I'm spiteful. I don't think it should be. Limiting would be fine by me, but that's because I fucking hate combo.
Nah, I feel you on that. But let me put it this way. So if you rewind the game back to like 2014, 2015, and we're talking about a card like Levianeer, that card is immediately banned, thrown out the fucking window, burn it with everything else, including the stepchildren. That card's gotta go. Like, it just has to. But now we're at a point where Yu-Gi-Oh's so wild that, like, you could probably just leave it alone and
unless something came around that could really, really abuse it, it's not going to matter. So there's that.
Oh, man. All right, so we talked about Guard Dragons, the meta decks. Just to make sure people don't think we forgot about it. Salamangreat, do you touch them? Do you not touch them?
Just leave it alone. It's at the point now, like, you already put all of its power cards, or its good power cards to 1, and it's just going to get phased out over time.
Yeah, fuck that deck. If you're still playing it, God bless you. It's still a decent deck. Don't get me wrong, but like,
oh, it's decent. It's easy to play. Like, there's nothing wrong with it. It's just, it wasn't very powerful to begin with. It was just consistent, and now that like their decks are arguably can be more consistent than it's just, like I said, it's the victim of every good Yu-Gi-Oh deck. Something else better is just going to come out.
now I will say if it doesn't get touched and there's a meta that goes in match or rivalry are extremely good in, that deck will be fine. Because it can play those cards extremely well. But anyways, we got 4 minutes left. What do you want to talk about?
Can we talk about how furries are taking over Yu-Gi-Oh?
Explain.
Bruh. Arguably the most powerful version of playing Orcust is Lunalight Orcust.
Oh my god. You remember
it's furry control.
You remember how Lunalight won a YCS and then people just like pretended it didn't happen?
Everyone pretended, and then it's just like the last couple weeks, everyone's like, oh wait, we forgot the Lunalight engine produces 2 rank 4s and yada yada yada. And we're like, oh man, it can make Azathoth on 4 summons. And we're like, yeah, the deck has always been capable of doing this. We just refused to believe it after Raphael and Evan won a YCS with it. An American YCS.
Yeah, it's just hilarious that the community just forgets about these things and then they like shit their pants when it happens, right?
And then it happened.
Now, it's totally different than, remember when World Chalice won a YCS?
That didn't happen. I don't know what you're talking about.
Like, I mean, it was Saryuja Turbo, basically, but World Chalice won a YCS, and everybody was like, huh. All right, what else topped? Like, that was it. I just think that was hilarious.
There was power behind that top, all right? This man came in with probably the weirdest deck. Oh, my God. He just came in with a dream and a flag and said, I'm winning this YCS. And guess what? He sure did.
He's like, I'm setting up Trigate, summoning Saryuja, and specialing Christia play through my board. Oh, no, he was using Gamma Seal with Kyoto Waterfront. That's what he was using.
Yep, and then we haven't seen anything about the deck since.
Because World Chalice was designed around Firewall.
We got a synchro that is insane for that specific archetype, and we have yet to see anything done with it.
All right, so we talked about a lot of stuff. What I want you guys to take away from this is find your local Orcust player, take his cards, and throw them out the back door of your card shop.
Exactly. Just easy peasy.
And then you can sit down and play Dark Magician in peace.
I don't know necessarily about that, but, you know.
All right, we all know Dark Magician is the best anime casual deck ever, okay?
I'm just going to let you have that one.
You can't say Blue Eyes because it won Worlds. It's not casual.
God damn it.
Yeah, take that. Your options are Harpy. Wait, Harpy was a meta deck at one point, wasn't it?
Kind
or
of.
was it Rogue?
It was meta-ish.
You got Red Eyes, Dark Magician, apparently Necrofear. That's a deck, right?
Sure. Sure, man.
What else? I don't even know.
Can we talk about how Evil Hero Support came out and you literally only still paying $100 a piece for the cards?
Yeah. All right, guys. Well, we are at 29 minutes and 30 seconds. Joe, you got any closing comments?
So I'm sick and tired of Orcust. Ed Deception's the GOAT. I don't care what anyone says. And per usual, and this is probably never going to change in the history of this podcast, Doug has yet to obtain any sauce.
Piccolo, you have no sauce. Hey.
All right, I swear to God, if I have to record this podcast one more time, we're missing an episode. But guys, that has been X2 Drop, episode 30. If you have enjoyed, please check out our other episodes or check us out next week. We go live 08 on Mondays on iTunes and Google Play, or 10 a.m. on YouTube, youtube.com/bingohd and youtube.com/The Duel Factory. That's all. I'll see you guys next week.
Okay, bye.